I'm so excited for this interview. Micaela has been somebody that I've looked up to, admired, and I'm just so excited for everyone to listen and hear her story. Micaela English is a journalist, storyteller, and former luxury magazine editor based in Brooklyn, New York. With 17 years of experience, she has collaborated with industry leaders across luxury, beauty, lifestyle, and fashion. She began her career at Lucky Magazine, Men's Health, and Women's Health before spending 6 years at Town and Country. Now, her work has appeared in so many outlets, including Vogue, Oprah Daily, Glamour, Forbes Vetted, The Zoe Report, Bustle, Elle, and so much more. She's doing some incredible consulting work now, and we're going to hear about her journey, what it means to be in the world of digital content, how it's evolved, and advice she has for young leaders. Take a listen. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited for our conversation today.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Ashley.
And I just knew when we had first connected that your story, your insight is something that, like, I just knew so many people needed to hear it, and your journey and just your insight into this world, is fascinating. So I can't wait to dive in.
Me too. Let's go.
So I'm so excited because I want to start at the very beginning, um, and your journey. And I often, when I ask this, you can start wherever you feel is the best spot. But I'm just so curious about your own career journey because you've had such a dynamic career. So can you tell us about it and just like what's that process and journey look like?
Yeah, totally. I think, I'll start at the beginning because it all does make sense. The way that I look back and I see how each position led to something that was the right next fit for me. And so when I graduated from college, I got a job at Condé Nast and I was at Lucky Magazine, it was a shopping magazine, which is since folded. And I was a sales assistant there. Um, I got laid off within, I guess, 8 months of that first job. It was 2008, 2009. There was a lot happening in the economy. And I got laid off and I landed at Men's Health and Women's Health as a sales assistant. So I was not on the editorial side. And I was looking to the editorial side as being like, that's what I want to do. I want to be a magazine editor. How do I get to the other side if I wasn't a journalism major? And I decided that I was going to take a writing class through this website called Media Bistro, and it was taught by a fashion editor at Glamour magazine. And on day one of this course, she had everybody in the class start their own blogs. And she was like, this is really important for you. And so she's like, this is where the industry is going. It will allow you a example to show editors and jobs that you're applying for that you are dynamic, that you are multifaceted and have a voice. And so I started my own blog. And from that, I got an interview at Town and Country, to be the editor in chief's assistant slash a features assistant. And so, yeah, I ended up being at Town and Country for 6 years, first on the print side, assisting the editor in chief, as well as contributing small columns pertaining to being out on the scene in New York City, as well as like some travel content. And then I ended up launching Town and Country's social media and their website. I was their first web editor. And I was there for 6 years doing that, which was amazing. It's like probably my favorite job I've ever had before. It was just an amazing team of people. And then I went to the brand side. And so once I left Town and Country, I worked at Anthropology, running content for them. I moved to Philadelphia for that job. I came back to New York and I was at LVMH, working for this beauty brand called Fresh and helping them with their content and their storytelling. And then in terms of my most recent full-time job, it was at the fashion brand J. McLaughlin, running content and storytelling and copy for them. And while I've had all of these full-time jobs, I have continued to freelance write and contribute and have my own creative expressions, which is like really important for me to stay in tune with what I want as well. But that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at right now I'm consulting um, for brands on their voice and how they are positioning themselves in the marketplace, as well as contributing content to various magazines and publications.
Love it. And I can't wait to ask you some things about just your own creative writing, like your own writing, what that looks like, and when you have these ideas, like how do you take it to that next step? But I'm really curious about the digital content and how it's evolved because I'm sure you've seen it in so many different aspects, right? And it's like it's shifted so much since, I'm even thinking about like the start of Instagram, right? And how that's changed things. So, how have you seen this digital content world evolve and thinking about its future? Like, what does it look like? Like, what's exciting you the most about it?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's been unbelievable to watch. I feel like I've had a front row viewing of it from a career standpoint as well. It has reminded me to be incredibly nimble, never too stuck in your ways because there's always something new that's coming. And some of these new things stay and some of them go away quickly, but you still have to be able to talk the talk and understand and have your finger on the pulse of what's going on. I think that the direction in which we're going is just video. I really think a video is just incredibly popular right now for a reason. It shows somebody what a celebrity or what an influencer or what an expert talks like, what they sound like. You're getting such a more personalized point of view. And I think the way in which Instagram and some of these platforms used to be these incredibly well curated Christmas card versions of your life or your brand story. I think we're really evolving into this authenticity era. And the brands that do it well are killing it. And I hope that we continue to do that, in this very filtered universe that we see content being tweaked and changed and, AI and all of that. There's just something incredibly grounding about real people with real problems or real things that they've overcome.
Mm. Absolutely. And AI too, I mean, sometimes when you read certain posts, you can kind of tell, right? It's like when people, maybe don't change it or edit it enough. There's something to that voice. And I'm curious
Totally.
about the balance because you've had this creative experience, editorial experience. I'm curious as somebody who is in business, but who wants to blend the storytelling aspect in, how do you do that effectively? Because sometimes so many posts can be almost like too focused on, okay, that the business side and the strategy side. How can I blend it? Like, how can I enfold some of my own storytelling into that?
I think that there's really personal aspects to being in business, right? You're putting yourself out there, you're trying to do something new. And in that, there is a ton of vulnerability. And I think that it's very inspiring for people to understand the behind the scenes reason as to why you started something or to hear about your struggles, to hear about, the things that you might have deemed as failures, but where they actually led you. I think any business story is like a hero's journey in a way. And so I think the more vulnerable you are about what you've overcome or what you're fearful of or all the different learnings that you have experienced in starting your business, I think it makes you more of a likable expert.
Mm, that's so true. And I hadn't even thought about that because there has so many struggles and obstacles with starting a business or diving into even the nonprofit space, right? So I really like that insight about, um, being authentic and showing like, hey, here's really what it feels like, what when you dive in, what that looks like. Um, And I've been lucky that I've got to pick your brain on reaching out to the press and cultivating my own story, right? So I'm curious advice that you have for other young women or just people that are interested in breaking into this space. Like how do you break into it? What are some things maybe that you wish you knew? What does that look like for you?
I
Absolutely.
think that it starts with what you're really interested in. I think that editors at publications can pick up when someone is really passionate about the things that they're writing about and also is an expert in the space. And I think having, a couple of pitch ideas, first of all, noticing what sorts of articles the editor that you're pitching has already put out there and reading that content and speaking to it, and then going into your pitches with unique angles, right? Look at what the New York Times or the Washington Post, like what are the headlines? What are people clicking on and reading right now and figuring out how to use that format or that language into the articles that you're hoping to pitch. I also think that you should just do it and you should just go out there and you can be really respectful and kind, but you're going to get 100 no's and you're going to get that one yes. And the one yes is the only one that really matters. Like, I just think you have to have a thick skin when it comes to pitching and writing, and you can't take anything personally. And you just have to go after it and be really strategic about it and be buttoned up and confident and put yourself out there.
Oh yeah, preparing for the nose, right? I mean, just just that mindset. I mean, like I had a friend who went through something similar, and this was for her book, like sending it and doing the queries and all of that, and like consistently knows this isn't the right time, like those types of things, or
Yeah.
hey, this is great, but no. And then finally getting that, let's talk. Like, I think this could be really cool. Like that moment was like, and I'm like, look at her now, right? I mean, she fought it, she felt that uncomfortableness, right? Of like the consistent no's, but kept at it. Um, and I think in our current world we sometimes just take the no and settle for that and we don't push ourselves enough.
No, and the no's are a gift. I think I couldn't agree with you more. I think every single time you get told no and you take it as, you know, you're sad about it or disappointed about it, obviously feel your feelings, but the no is a gift and you don't know why right now, but just trust that there's something much bigger and better and more aligned with what you're supposed to be doing out there. I look back on, gosh, so many final round interviews and so many positions, and it's like, oh, well, the company went under, or the team got totally, like, everybody got laid off on that team, or this other opportunity came out of me getting that no. And so it really does all make sense, and just have to trust, as hard as it is.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm curious for this next question because we had somebody on the show, Regan Robinson, who does a lot with futurism. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious about this because you have described yourself as a futurist. So first, I'm just curious, in your view, like what does that mean for people that aren't as familiar with that term?
I think for me, it means one foot in the present, but always one foot forward, looking to the future, picking up on, okay, this area of fashion or beauty or the way we're consuming content is starting to feel stale. We're starting to fatigue in this. And so what's next? It excites me. I think I'm an Aquarius, and it's part of my zodiac DNA to be a creator, to be really excited about what's coming and technology and space and all of those different sorts of things. And so I think a futurist is one that is not too stuck in the way things are right now and is always thinking about what's to come and what's your position going to be on that when that time arrives.
Mm. I love that. And as a chess player, I love hearing that because it's so true. Thinking about what could happen, what might happen, how can you prepare for that? I'm curious though, because you are a futurist, what does that mean for your mindset as it goes to like trends? Fashion in the fashion space, in the digital content space, like, how do you bring that forward thinking into the work that you're doing now?
So I live in an area that is incredibly futuristic in terms of trends being developed and birthed here and tons of creative people. And so living in Williamsburg and Brooklyn keeps me incredibly inspired. I also have always surrounded myself with people of all different ages. And I am completely in awe of Gen Z and the ways in which they are not only creating their own trends, but they're also creating their own language. And so I always turn to my two nieces who are 13 and 18 and pick their brains on what's going on and if I should still get the platform Ugg boots or not.
I love it. I love it so much. Now, this is more of I'd say a fun question, and a lot of people always submit this question for all of our guests. And I'm curious for you as well, just given now your path in life, you've had and continue to have such a demanding career, right? We talked about staying on top of trends, continuously writing, sometimes getting that unexpected or expected yes at different moments, right? So how do you balance your personal and professional life, or how do you just make the time for any of your personal passions? I feel like that's so difficult in the world that we live in today.
It is. And we all know it's not fully realistic, right? But I think that one thing that has definitely helped me is how can I continue to operate at peak Micaela even when life is crazy? And what that comes down to for me is sleep, exercise, and nutrition. And so those aspects of my day are firmly calendarized in my Apple calendar to make sure that I'm doing them. So I take a workout class as seriously as I would a meeting because I need to do that for myself and for my mental health. The same with sleep. I need to have between 7 and 9 hours of sleep a night. Sure, sometimes it doesn't happen. Maybe it's New Year's Eve, or maybe I'm, working overnight on a deadline. But for the most part, I take those things as seriously as I would any sort of work demand. And the only person that's like fully in charge of your calendar is you. And I think that you have to respect your both your personal life and your professional life in the same vein, personally. I really do.
Yeah, I love that you said you take that workout class as seriously as a meeting because sometimes I like because in my current mindset, sometimes I'm like, oh, I guess that thing can wait, or oh, I know I have a meeting in an hour, so I'm not going to maybe take that extra time. Like reframing your mind to say, no, this is as important is so key, or like making time for coffee to catch up with somebody or going out with your friends, like really staying committed to that. I love that advice because I have that problem of not doing that.
No, you have to do it because, I mean, let's be real. Nobody knows how long we're here for, not to make it morbid. And I feel like as Americans, we dedicate so much of our lives to our professional careers and treat them as if they're the most utmost of they're of utmost importance. The reality is like you are of utmost importance. You are the most important thing. And so if you need all these other things in order to show up as the best version of yourself in the office or at that meeting, you have to do those things. And anyone that you work with that doesn't understand that, like for me, first of all, that does not feel very 2025 because we're all in this together. And it's not a fit for you because, or it's like the martyrdom of, well, I don't do that, so you shouldn't do that. But that doesn't really matter. You set your own boundaries.
That's so true. That's so true. Or I saw this a lot of when we were starting to work back in the office rather than at home. And some
Yeah.
people decided they wanted to keep working at home for 3 out of the 5 days of the work week. But
Yeah.
people that either judged that or said, like, hey, that's not something that I would do. It's like, well, that's okay. If it's not
Right.
impacting your work, right?
Right.
That's okay to make that decision for yourself.
I mean, I'm fully on board with that. Yes. And it's a sticky topic with so many companies and with so much return to office mandates and all of that.
Mm.
That's a whole other podcast episode.
Yes. Oh, that's so true. That's so true. But one of the things that I always look forward to, because I just get a lot of different, insight from you on life and interviews you've had with people, is that you have your own newsletter.
Yes.
So can you talk with us a bit about what that is, how you started it, what people can expect?
Yeah. So my newsletter, Me Mail, which my initials are MEE, and so it was a play on that. I started it a couple of years ago, and it really, I think the issue with being a freelance journalist sometimes is that you get a lot of no's, and there's still a lot that you want to share with the world. And so I wanted to put together all the different things that I was interested in into one piece of content. And I loved the format of email because I think it's just like such a fun surprise to get a love letter from somebody in your inbox that, is a fun read instead of, something relating to the news or something that's just like, a promotional sale. It's fun to get something that feels like a love note. And so the concept behind it was really, you know, what's on my mind. I think my intro is almost kind of like a pep talk to my audience, but also a pep talk and a reflection on where I'm at this point.
Mm.
And I pulled together a bunch of quotes that I have seen that I like. And then I talk about the different beauty and fashion and books and things like that are top of mind that are helping me and that are making me live a life that lights me up. And so it's fun. It's been really fun to share it with people. I think the ways in which email has just taken off is fascinating with Substack, and I'm on MailChimp, but all of these different platforms and how they're allowing journalists and experts and everybody put out content in this way is really fun. And I feel like it's just kind of bringing back this craft of writing as well, because it is such a beautiful form of reflection and of sharing things with other people. And to me, it's a big middle finger to AI.
Mhm. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I love at random parts of the week getting like something that I subscribe to in my email. It's just like
Right?
it's that email that you want to get almost,
Yeah,
right?
totally, totally.
And it's just fun to read and dive into. And we'll include all the links, of course, in the description, but encouraging people to really check that out because it's a great way to, stay engaged throughout the week and to read things that are positive and engaging, right? Because we're so used to so much negative news out there. Um,
It's
so,
true. I think that's like, I don't know, that's been a fun part of me, you know, blending my personal and professional life is all the different forms in which we can tell stories. And I think that, so many creators do an amazing job of it on Instagram as well, just utilizing carousels, like telling stories with words or, lists with words with carousels. Even back to like the old school blog, like I'm a fan of a blog. I think it's amazing. I think it also allows you to have like incredible SEO power. And then the newsletter, like there's all these different ways in which you can play with it and what feels most authentic to you. But email is very fun for me. It's fun to have a concept, put all this energy into it, and then like birth it out into the universe and be on to the next thing.
absolutely, absolutely. And this last question, one of my favorites to ask. A lot of people still, even though we started to consistently ask it, don't necessarily know how to answer it when I first throw it out there. But as you know, queens are very important for us at Queenside, and the whole point of this podcast is to understand how people became their queen and unleashed their inner queen. So I'm curious for you, number one, what does unleashing your inner queen mean to you? And then how do you unleash your inner queen?
Yeah. Unleashing your inner queen to me means showing up in this world and knowing your worth, knowing that you are worthy of your dreams. They became your dreams for a reason, knowing that you being who you authentically are, this snowflake, this totally unique version, is your superpower. And it's what makes you, you know, as important as everybody else. And so I think when you own that energy and you know that you bring something different to the table by being exactly who you are, that is like queen energy, like rain on.
I love it.
um, in terms of how I feel, what is it? How do I feel my best? How do I unleash my inner queen? I unleash my inner queen first by putting on this persona of myself, of, making myself feel my best with putting on an outfit that I feel confident in, putting on some lashes or whatever it may be, blasting hip hop. I'm a huge hip hop person. So like I just blast hip hop music and I put my shoulders back and I strut down the street and I'm like, I'm that girl. That's who I am. And I think, your inner queen is it's such an energy thing. And it's that Marilyn Monroe effect of when you tune in to who you really are and you put that energy out there, people are going to notice. Like it just happens when you're like, okay, I'm Micaela English and I'm walking down the street and I feel amazing about myself and I'm confident and I have self-worth and I know that what I bring to the table is different than everyone else. It really, I think the universe really does just magnetize what it is that you want to you. And so I encourage everybody to be who they really are, to speak loudly, to show up to the world in like a really proud manner and to show us what you've got because we need you. We need you to be exactly who you are.
Oh, I love that so much. I love that so much. I love how you said you're like that girl because it's so true. Just even just the little things of putting on something that you feel confident in and or putting that lipstick on, shout out to Taylor Swift for that, making people feel confident with the red lipstick, right? It's like feeling empowered
Totally,
in that way is so,
totally, totally.
so important.
It
Uh,
is. It is. And we need that. We all kind of need that alter ego. I feel like, Beyonce has that with Sasha Fierce. I'm still Michaela in both versions of myself, but the more confident version of myself that I'm walking into a party or an interview or a group of people, like, yeah, I channel her. And I think that we can all channel that part of ourselves. And it's really fun.
Absolutely. This has been so great. And what I think so many people will appreciate about you and your story is just the breadth of experience that you have and how you encourage others to do the same and really feel empowered, whether that's through all of this work you're doing with the digital content space, consulting people, advising people, or even your own work. You had a really amazing piece in Vogue recently. So, and people can look forward to seeing more from you very soon. So, it's just really exciting. We so appreciate everything that you're doing and for taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me, Ashley. I really appreciate it.